Hello, I'm Damien Cross and welcome to ZoomZoomers. This is the first video that we did and it wasn't streamed live on YouTube, but we thought you might want to see it anyway. Here goes. And here they come. First person to pop up there, we've got Neil, we've got Jonty, we've got Craig, and they're all here as well. So some people may start off on mute, but we'll make sure they're not muted as the thing goes along. Hi everybody, it's good to see so many of you here. It's glad that it's not just me. A few of you haven't got your screen switched on yet. Hello, how are we all doing?
Hello everyone.
Good evening.
I'll try on the Facebook, so hopefully you guys have got the link as well, but no worries if you haven't quite got that yet. One thing I'll do to begin with is obviously thank you all for coming, and then we'll go through and just explain to the people who might be watching, you might not know who you are, might not follow you on Twitter already, about who you are, what your Twitter handle is, and why you're part of ZoomZoomers. Before we do that, I know there's been some technical issues. Right now, there's been some problems with Virgin Media, which some people I think are on. So I think in this first few minutes, we're going to start to learn quite quickly who for a start has had too many drinks already, who's probably struggled with getting a haircut. Looking at a few of you there, and obviously who's using Virgin Media. I think that might become clear. Some people may dip in and out. There are, on my screen in front of me now, there are 12 people, so it's a great place to get started. But if more people come along, then I will make sure that I add them as they come along. So to start off with, if we just introduce ourselves, if that's okay. On my top left, although he's muted at the moment, we've got Neil Briscoe. So Neil, if you could say hello and who you are.
Hello, I'm Neil Briscoe and I'm a motoring journalist based in Ireland. I live in Belfast these days, and I'm here because Damien invited me to be here because I wrote some stuff for him once, and that's basically why.
Once, many times. You're always a nice, solid, wonderful back on. Jonty, why are you here?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jonty at Jonty's Corner on Twitter, and I'm here because Damien invited me because I get involved with a lot of motorsport debate and chat on Twitter, and for some reason people follow me.
And what's your was it Jonty's Corner, your handle?
Yeah, Jonty's underscore corner.
Okay, and next on the list I've got here Lewis Kingston.
Hello, I'm a freelance journalist. You can find me on Twitter at These Old Cars, and same, I got dragged into this by Damien on Twitter. It's great to have the chance to come along and speak to everyone.
Yeah, after last week's one, which we'll probably talk a bit about as we go through this, it's quite good to get everyone back together and some mad ideas. And talking of mad ideas, I've got the next person on my list who is obviously listed here as Wibble, but it's not his real name. Who are you and where do you come from?
Hello, my name is Christopher. My Twitter handle is @ChristopherPBS. Again, like everyone else, I was dragged into this by Damien, but very glad to be a part of it. And I am a journalist and an LGBT campaigner.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. We'll come back to a few of those bits in a moment. But just to get everyone's introductions done, Ben, I've got you here, Ben Hodges.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ben Hodges, obviously, and I'm a motion writer for Carby UK, and I occasionally freelance. And I'm here because Damien asked me to, and probably because I once went to see him and had to get through several fields full of cows to come and visit him.
You took the strangest route to King's Lynn that anyone ever has. You somehow found cattle grids that I barely know of. There's a main road that just runs from London to King's Lynn, but you just ignored that. Next I've got here Naomi and Tom. Naomi, you've been really busy this evening, so I guess it's really nice to see you here from the very start. I wasn't expecting you here for another 10 minutes or so.
After you.
You're more interesting. You go ahead.
That's not true. Naomi Panter, at Naomi Panter on Twitter. I'm motorsport PR predominantly, and I'm here because there exists a video of me, all 6'3" of me, trying to fold into Damien's Lotus, and he's threatened to release it if I didn't join.
And I'm Tom Spencer. I'm TP Spencer 88 on Twitter. I worked with a number of Formula E teams as their PR and social media manager, and I regularly write for the likes of Fully Charged on particularly EV focused things. And I also want to say to Damien that you need to release that video to everyone.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit scared that it might have gone on an old phone somewhere, but whatever you do, make sure that Naomi never finds that out, because if she knows that, then I've got nothing on her, nothing to bribe with anymore. But anyone who's not 6'3" and has tried to get in and out of a Lotus, you'll know how it feels. But yeah, it was quite an ordeal. Next on my list is, although she's muted, I've got Jess. It's your microphone on. Yes.
Hey everyone. I'm Jess Shanahan. I'm Jet L Bomb on Twitter, and I'm a motoring writer, and I also run the Racing Mentor brand.
Fantastic, thanks, Jess. And actually, that leads me quite nicely on to Toby Trice there, who's smiling away at us as always.
Hey, I'm Toby. Twitter handles at Toby_Trice. I'm a racing driver, actually, thanks to Jess. I was one of her first trainees as such, and I became a racing driver last year, and I raise awareness for fertility.
Fantastic, thanks for that, Toby. Alan, you're here as well. It's nice to hear your voice again.
I am. Well, people can get far too much of a good thing. I'm Alan Bradley, and I'm a presenter of the Motoring Podcast.
Fantastic, thanks, Alan. Next on the list, before we find Dave, I've just let him in. We'll go to Rich Gooding.
I'm Rich Gooding. At richgooding.com on Twitter. I'm a freelance motoring writer and graphic designer specialising in EVs, classics, and all that kind of stuff.
Lovely. I've got Craig Woollard there as well with his headset on. Now, Craig, I know you're one of the ones who's perhaps been a bit burdened by Virgin Media's internet service this afternoon, but how are you getting on now?
I mean, well, it kicked out just as soon as I finished work, which was really annoying, but it seems to be fine now. So I'm Craig Woollard at Craig_Woollard, which is rather boring. I'm not 6'3". I'm a lot less than 6'3". I'm a motorsport historian and freelance journalist and just a general motor racing fan. And this was kind of our idea in a pub one evening.
Yeah, let's take us back to that pub. It was kind of, we kind of met after work and decided that we should do this more often and get more people involved. But then this pandemic came along, and what should have made things really, really tricky has actually meant it's become a lot easier by just everyone jumping onto a video call together. So it's great to see you here, Craig. I've now got Dave in the Zoom call now. Dave, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Hello. Is this working now?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, I'm Dave Humphreys. I'm a motoring journalist. Ride bikes, drive cars in Dublin. Happy to answer any other questions. Terrible at bios. Get other people to write them for me. It's much easier.
Yeah. I think last time you actually had Neil introduce you, but that was a bit kind of. I'm not sure what the relationship is between you two, but
I can't afford to keep paying Neil to do that, so that was just a one-off.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Money for compliments there, yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to compliment you, Dave. You've obviously written a few things for me in the past as well, and again,
the odd time I've done a bit. Yeah, Evel Knievel's Sky Rocket was
that was
one of the oddest things I've ever written, but that was a fun one to research.
I don't know if I dropped that one on your lap or whether I put it out to a few people and said, does anyone know about this Sky car? Or whether you just kind of said, oh, leave that to me. And that was
it was bizarre. I ended up getting in touch with the guy that made it. It was like a very odd thing. There you go.
Well, there's a few people that we were hoping were going to be on the call. I know Ian Cook is messaging saying that he doesn't know how to get in. There was a bit of confusion earlier about the Facebook Live thing, and hopefully Ian, I don't know if you can hear us now. You should have a link to Zoom in your Twitter DMs. I think that's how most people manage to get in. There's a couple more people that hopefully will pop along. I know Charlie Martin was hoping to be here, and
she should be here. She might get it late, but she should be here.
That's fine. Yeah, I expected perhaps there's going to be a couple of people late. So while we're waiting for those people, we can talk a little bit about Ian before he actually comes along, because Toby, you were involved with Ian Cook and his pop band colour artistry during the week, because he's been drawing some continuous cars. We'll ask him about that when he joins us. But one of the cars that he was drawing was your race car from last year. And I spoke to him earlier, and he was over the moon that you became part of that live Instagram feed. And how was that for you?
Yeah, it was mega. I mean, I got a message saying that I was next up, and I was actually a bit unexpected to find that he was actually drawing my car. But I think I got it like 15 minutes in, so I was hoping to catch it from the very beginning. Anyway, was messaged on there and it said, let's go live. Why don't we do this as like a first time, go live while you're drawing? And we just had a good natter, really. It was good to get to know him a bit more.
Yeah, and he's kind of, I think you've set a bit of a precedent there, because I think the future ones that he wants to do, he's going to be trying to invite relevant people along as well, because it adds a lot more to to what's going on. So it'll be good to see that. But one thing before we start going off too many tangents, I suppose, I want to go back to the first ZoomZoomers that we did. That wasn't streamed last week. We all got to know each other, and a few of the ideas that came about during that call. Mainly because, Chris, you've got some really quite out there plans, and most people would go, it's not worth the bother. You go, right, how do we do this? And that got a conversation going between you and a few other guys.
Yes, so the joys of being dyspraxic is that your mind's kind of all over the place, and if anyone is dyspraxic, feel free to reach out, because it'd be good to have some rubbish conversations together and see how we construct sentences. But yes, Damien, you're right, I do come up with ideas which every so often makes a reality, like Pride, which was one of those and is now doing well, but we'll get on to that later. Yeah, so one of the ideas which came out was the British land speed record. Now you might think, what on earth is that? Well, basically there is a world land speed record which is 763 miles an hour. However, every single country has its own record, so there's a fastest speed achieved over the course of a mile in every single nation. So in Britain has one. It's 300 miles an hour, which was last broken in the year 2000. And, current world land speed record 763, completely impossible to do without 20 year project. So 300 miles an hour in the grand context of things is a lot more achievable. So yeah.
I think a few people on here got quite excited about that idea. And if I could pass on to, I think it was Lewis, you were saying that actually you've got some plans of your own to go super fast, and maybe with Chris's help or ideas and all of our help, maybe that could go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Chris's one, you could almost do in a standing mile if you had about 2,500 horsepower. That's about what it takes. You don't necessarily have to resort to rocket propulsion. So it's all doable. It is doable, but it's also bloody challenging, to be honest.
I mean, I confess, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole over the weekend. It was really good fun. I found myself making notes on this scrap piece of paper and doing doodles and back. It's great fun. So yeah, we're already halfway there. It can be done, and I think once this is all over, I would so love to go and do it.
Yeah, fantastic. Whilst we're just gonna welcome the two newcomers here. I know there's a bit of confusion about the link to get in, so I can see LA waving at us, and I know Ian is there. I'm not sure what's happened to his camera just yet. Yeah, we're both there. So if you want to if you two guys, LA first of all, if you want to tell us who you are and what your Twitter handle is and why you're here.
Okay, so my handle is 1_LA, very easy, and I do a bit of this and a bit of that for Inside F2, which is a fairly new online, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, help me out.
Who knows with you?
Who knows? Anyway, it's about Formula 2, and and we kind of started it just before the season was supposed to begin and before all this virus, obviously. And it was a bit of a shame because obviously we've all been halted in our tracks just a little bit, but we are still producing work and we are still getting to know teams and in touch with drivers. So we're still putting some stuff up there on the website and online. And if you do follow my Twitter, then you will see that, there are either my articles or other authors' articles going out there. So yeah, so if you like F2, then follow me on Twitter and follow Inside F2 too.
Thank you very much. And Ian, we've got you here as well. I know you've really busy day. No, that's okay. I think I confused you earlier when we were talking about Facebook going live, and then you said, "Is it on Facebook?" And I said, "Yeah," and that was probably the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, sorry. I then hit the wrong emoji and I laughed at Lewis. I didn't mean to laugh at you. Sorry. This is why I do pictures. I don't do written stuff. I just do pictures. I'm good at that. So
you are. You've been doing a few. We spoke to Toby a few minutes before you joined about what you've been doing with him. But one thing that we haven't spoken about yet, is it your birthday tomorrow, Ian?
It is my birthday tomorrow. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Advance.
I'm going to go to the kitchen.
Happy birthday. Yeah. Good luck. But apologies if it's anyone's birthday today, and then we've massively stolen your thunder and just said about Ian's nearly birthday. But Ian, if you wouldn't mind just telling people who might be looking in for the first time who you are and what your Twitter handle is.
My name is Ian Cook from Popband Colour, which it says there. Artist, generally do automotive manufacturers, stuff for brands on socials at the moment. Drawing. I've just drawn Mr. Bean's Mini. There we are.
Very good.
That's really
It's
cool.
Mr. Bean's Mini. So Mini got in touch, and I'm doing all the Mini GP minis, Generation 1 to 3 today. And at 9 o'clock, 9:05, I'm speaking to the grandson of Cooper. So Mini Cooper, I'm speaking to his grandson. And so he's going to talk about Cooper and what he does. So, yeah, it's gone really well. So I spoke to Alex Goyer, you're on today. I just had Keith Jones on. And I had a blogger chap as well, a mini blogger guy who's really good. So, yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun day.
Yeah, good. And it was kind of Toby who kind of set that precedent, I believe, because it was just him asking to kind of take part in your open the floodgates.
Honestly, it's mass, like in terms of brands, and because brands have all got their brand ambassadors who support. Obviously, they're not driving their minis at the moment, so it's cool to interact with people who are mini brand ambassadors and find out about their history. And in half an hour, 45 minutes, I get to interview them whilst I'm drawing, and it's all recorded. We've worked out how to download it off Instagram, so then we can make it into a YouTube video as well. So the content becomes live, but also recorded on for YouTube. So, yeah, it's gone all right. It was a good day.
Fantastic.
So thanks, Toby.
Yeah, Toby's kind of like...
Thanks, Toby. You're great. Thanks for
a bit of a trendsetter. But all the exposure we can get for Toby's car and his campaign is good, I believe. I'm not really sure how present it is on the car itself. But of course, Toby, you're not just racing for fun. You're not just racing because you're good at it. But actually, as well as trying... There it is. Ian's got the car there. But you want to tell us a little bit about the cause that you race for, Toby?
Yeah, so I'm racing to raise awareness for fertility and people that deal with infertility. I myself have gone through fertility issues with my fiance, and I went for a really, really bad sort of depressed period of just not talking to anyone and just kind of blocked everything out. And at the time I was go-karting at Buckmore Park, and I saw Jess early last year with this kind of goal to perhaps link the two together somehow, because I was using racing as my kind of way to sort of let off some steam and express myself. And it's kind of snowballed from there. I kind of began racing, chucked the logo on my car and got loads of people behind the campaign. And the BBC got involved actually last year, back into October. They interviewed me, and ever since then it's just snowballed into this whole eruption of I've become the ambassador for Fertility Network UK as a charity. And in fact, tomorrow night, I'm actually hosting my very first male-only online support group. So I can share my story with other people that are going through it, just to try and make them feel a bit better about their own situation, really.
Oh, fantastic, Toby. It's great to see motorsport being done for more than just, entertainment, of course, but also to promote brands. I mean, that's something that Chris Sharp, I know you've been working with quite a few guys to try and raise awareness of other issues through motorsport as well.
Yeah, so for those who may not be aware, basically another issue that we talk about in most ways, inclusivity and diversity. And so I co-founded and co-run Racing Pride, which looks to raise awareness of LGBT inclusivity and diversity in motorsport. Now, we launched on June 6th last year, D-Day, appropriately enough. And since then, we've got a series of driver ambassadors: Richard Morris, Charlie Martin, Sarah Moore, Andy Eaton, as well as non-driver ambassadors such as John Holmes, who set up Rainbow Laces, and Matt Bishop, and so on and so forth. And we basically sort of aim to raise awareness through a campaign of positivity about LGBT personnel, and we aim to sort of show people, the next generation as well as the current generation, that it's okay to be who you are, that you don't feel you need to hide your sexuality, as drivers like Danny Watts, 2-time Le Mans winner, or Hurley Hayward, 5-time Daytona 24 Hours winner, felt they had to wait until after they came out, after they retired, to feel comfortable. And we don't want to repeat that. And so we're all about highlighting these stories, not just the instances of people who didn't come out, but they were out. So driver.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, Chris, would you mind repeating the last a few seconds of that? I think we just lost you for a moment.
That's all right. So basically, we're not just about highlighting those drivers who couldn't come out. We are also about highlighting those drivers who have. So last week on Friday, we published a featurette about the first openly gay F1 driver, Mike Beutler, who raced in Formula One. Who was teammates with Niki Lauda and Ronnie Peterson. And so we're all about sort of taking examples from history and using those as part of to build momentum for our present, so that we can make people at all levels of motorsport, whether it be mechanics, drivers, journalists, feel that they do not have to hide their true sexuality, that they feel that it shouldn't affect their role in the paddock. I went through my own journey of coming out. First came out as questioning, and then last year in November, through the power of eyeshadow, I finally felt comfortable to actually, I felt comfortable in my own skin to come out as queer. Which, if you don't know what queer is, it basically means you basically like everyone. You're willing to try anything, and so Racing Pride, we aim to help people at all levels of the motorsport community. But on a personal level, it's also helped me feel comfortable with my own sexuality on a local level, so to speak.
Fantastic. So what a great cause that is. And it's great to see so much presence of it in motorsport, and hopefully it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. There are other sports out there that perhaps could take a bit of a lead from what motorsport's doing at the moment. But talking of good causes, I mean, while we're here, one of the things that I've asked you to do during the week, hopefully you have had chance to do it, is to get some rainbows together, because obviously during a lockdown there's a lot of people out there still working and working hard to kind of do their bit. So if you happen to have, Ian's prepared, if you happen to have a rainbow nearby, if you'd like to hold it up to the camera just for a few moments, just to say thank you to those people. I've got one here as well. Mine's incredibly naff. And what I'll do a quick screen grab of this. What a fantastic, what's that from Lewis? Is that a Corvette?
I got a bit bored in Photoshop, so I thought I'd do something a bit motorsports-esque. I just thought I'd use a picture of one of my old cars.
Fantastic. Thanks for all that. What's Ian? Let's hear about yours, Ian.
It's my bit of my Hot Wheels collection.
Oh, as simple as that.
It was. I've got some of it here, so it's just a selection of the cars I've got underneath my desk. I'm quite a Hot Wheels hoarder, so I've got a lot of them. So,
yeah, I guess so. A lot of colours as well. I actually struggled to find a purple, so mine's a bit pink, but that's close enough, isn't it? And Toby, yours had your new racing logo on there. I noticed.
Yeah, it's actually not officially launched yet, so this is the kind of little sneak peek.
This is the sneak preview. Yeah,
so I've worked really closely. Yeah, so I've worked really closely with a new sponsor called Purple Tash. I believe they're listening in tonight, so hello. But yeah, they've come up and designed me a new logo. I've badly drawn it though. I need kind of Ian's help on that.
Oh, that's great.
So when I actually launch this, you'll see a better version of it.
Fantastic. It's a shame we haven't got Charlie on the call right now, because if she pops along, I think we might have to hold up the rainbows again. But while we're waiting for that to happen, I might as well ask you another question, which I popped to you, and hopefully you saw in your messages during the week, about a bit of a poser for you. If you had to stick to just one brand, one make of car for the rest of your life that's going to suit all your needs, which one are you going to go for? So I hope you've had some time to think about this. If you haven't, you're frantically trying to... Yeah, go, Chris.
Does that include their historic catalogue? Do you have access to that? Okay, just...
Yeah. Go on. You can have your first go then. If you're keen to clarify that, you must have a brand in mind.
No. Oh, damn. Oh, shouldn't swear. I put myself in a corner here.
Pressure's on.
I think I'd go for Ford. It's the boring choice, but
Yeah, no. Half the people on this screen have just thrown their books away and just gone, "Oh, I was going to say Ford." So,
Ford, because I've been googling Mark II escorts for the past day or so, whilst I've not been working for a youth education network, obviously. Yeah, it's like so you have access. You got your 4-wheel drive, you've got Ford RS. That's got Mark II to go sideways at the weekend. Then you got the Group B madness. And you've also got some cracking touring cars, RS 500. Yeah. And then, they're still keeping on. And then also, at the weekend, when you've got lots of friends who need to go somewhere, or if you're not without friends, just got lots of space, got a transit van.
Yeah, everyone loves a transit van. They say everyone in the UK has been in a transit van at some point, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. But with I don't know whether you had. Forms. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if the ice cream vans around your way are quite as insistent on you buying an ice cream as they were around here. But no, I think even if it's an ambulance or something like that, I think they say that everyone will have been in a transit at some point. So to move on then, Neil, what have you brought along? What make have you got?
I'm Dave is going to roll his eyes back into his head now when I say this because he knows what's coming. He absolutely knows what's coming. It's going to be Land Rover.
Okay.
The best car I've ever driven was a Land Rover, and I'm not going to say Range Rover, and I'm not going to say one with an SVR V8 engine. Donkeys years ago, when Land Rover relaunched the Defender with the Transit engine in it, they let us loose for the day with the historic fleet, and I got to spend the whole day driving this absolutely perfect, immaculate from Land Rover's collection, Series 1, 1948, 1.6 litre engine. Roof off, windscreen down, doors off. It was a sunny day. We could just go anywhere we liked, and I just had the best time I've ever had at the wheel of a car, and I still want one.
So is that enough for you to declare that Land Rover is the only brand of car you'll ever want forever, or is it just that you had a really nice day in one once?
Both. That is still my number one best driving experience, and also I'm a tall fat bugger, so I fit in Land Rovers, and I've got a dog, so he goes in the back of Land Rovers, and I just love them. They're just wonderful. I've had a lot of kind of big family experiences in various Land Rover press cars over the years as well, like buying our first house and getting engaged and things like that. So yeah, I don't care about cornering speeds. Fundamentally, no. I'm a rubbish driver. There's no point in me going on a racetrack, so I'll just go and drive around the muddy bits at the edges.
Well, one thing that's I think quite apparent from that is cars are more than just nuts, bolts, metal, plastic, wiring. It's all about what you do in them, the fun you have, the memories you have, and that kind of thing. And to try and perhaps put a bit of balance on the Land Rover thing, let's go to Dave then. And if he says Land Rover, that's just going to really topple us all over, isn't it?
No, I would definitely not. I mean, why would I recommend a car that will give you tinnitus after driving it for more than 10 minutes?
Hey, I've got tinnitus.
Sorry?
It's like it is the automotive journalist cliche. I mean, it's a Defender. You've got to love. You're not a real automotive person if you don't own an Alfa Romeo and an MX-5. That's like automotive journalism bingo. That's it. I would pick. So I did actually think about that, and a big thing did come into the fact of the historical end of things. But it was a very good point. I would pick Citroen.
Oh, okay.
Because they still make a new electric car, the e-Mahari, super cool. They make the old Mahari, which is super cool. They make, all these like really plush, comfy cars. A 2CV, I mean, all the fun you want to have in a car. And, it's quirky design. It's got a bit of everything.
Hey, it's not a Ford, is it? So, you've scored a point there for not going for the obvious one.
Wow.
No, let's be honest, it's easy to play Ford. Are you still
most successful rally car of all time?
Alan, Bradley, what have you got for us?
Well, I ran through my car history to try and work out if there was a theme here, and given that half of the 14 were Toyotas, I then changed my mind and decided actually I'd rather have Mazdas.
Oh, really? So have you had Mazdas in the past?
I have, yeah. I've had two MX-5 and I miscounted. I've had two MX-5 and an RX-8. And yes, I would have another RX-8 as long as I could be the first owner. But yeah, no, I really like the cars. I like the ethos behind them. I like the sort of lightweight and the engines, and they're the closest we've still got to Saab as far as I'm concerned, because it's an independent company who do some stuff a bit differently.
Yeah.
And yet the whole range, is there. We've got everything from sports cars to SUVs to whatever you might need at some point in the rest of your life. Just now, anyway.
And they do, like Saab, they totally embrace. They openly admit that they're oddball. They're the outliers, and they're quite happy about that, which is a great thing about car companies when there's so much car companies being part of groups and it's just homogenization.
I foresee a problem here, which is that Alan's microphone is so much better than all of the rest of ours that his argument instantly sounds much more convincing.
Well, you see, after last week's abuse, I thought I'd go the full smash to your Nacy.
we should just record that.
That off, Craig, mate.
this podcast or vodcast or whatever is not sponsored by Mazda. It may have a title which kind of implies it might be. And we have got Alan in a studio somewhere talking about Mazda as if they are the dream. But
it's yeah, sorry, that wasn't really planned, to be honest. But yeah.
Ben, what do you bring to the party?
So for me, it's going to be a fairly obvious one. It's going to be BMW, just because they've got this kind of rich back catalogue. Admittedly, they've kind of made a fair few mistakes along the way. E60, maybe, in terms of the way it looks, E65. But the current generation, most of them drive really well in terms of they're really good drivers' cars. Even like 320i is a great car to drive. You know, they're also doing really good hybrid stuff. And their smaller EVs are actually really good as well. And all the M-car stuff is just, you know, those are the ones where you've got to prize the keys from me to get them back after the loan finishes. But yeah, and I could probably own BMWs for the rest of my life, considering I've only owned one for 3 years now. I've never owned one before. So, but yeah,
BMW
that's where it's at for me.
No worries.
I8.
So, Jonty, what about you?
I actually thought quite logically about this because you don't just drive cars. We all like tinkering with them. Let's be honest. All of us like being in a garage, tinkering around, and being an engineer, precision welder, and what have you. The solution I came up with was Lancia.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I'm never, ever going to be bored fixing, replacing bits and welding up a Lancia.
I think you've killed Neil.
The only problem is you end up...
Haven't they all rusted away yet?
Well, that's just it. I would never be bored. I'd never have nothing to do on a weekend.
You'd never be on the road.
Well, there's that as well. But you'd end up with a kind of ship of Theseus problem where after a year or so, can you still class it as the same car when every single component has been replaced 3 times?
Yeah. Naomi and Tom, then, have you agreed on one or have you got difference of opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we've said, a lot of us started off with Ford. I'm going to be true to brand, and I'm going to go with Tesla. I'm aware they have a really small number of cars at the moment, but I think firstly they all have like an ethical, or not necessarily ethical standpoint, but they're focused on sustainability. That's where they started off. That's completely different to any other car brand. And I think if you look at just its share price alone, like Tesla's come from nowhere and in basically a decade is now the car brand out there in terms of its value. And for me personally, we worked with you actually. We had a Model X here on the west coast of Ireland with a DeLorean to look at the future in the 80s and the future now. The DeLorean, we got to a toll booth on the motorway and it was impossible to put your hand through the quarter light to actually pay the toll booth, which was hilarious. The Model X that we had, which the Model X looks heavy when it's sat still, it does not look quick. It felt like the most enjoyable gut punch I've ever had. Every time I touched the pedal, I suddenly leapt 30, 40 yards and I was grinning. I genuinely giggled every time I accelerated in that car, whether it was 0 to 30 or 60 to 100. It was amazing. Maybe ask me again after the Cybertrucks come out because that's a big question mark. But I genuinely think they've made a really big impact really fast. You could go really sporty, you could go like pleasure touring, you could get your whole family in, or we got 7 photographers with kit bags, drones, lights, everything into a Model X, and nearly had to pull a DeLorean on as well, and it would have done it with ease. So that's my shout.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I've been lucky enough to be in the 2 Tesla Model S's that have been converted into estate cars. I think at one point I was probably the only guy in the world who'd actually been in both and not been in any of them Tesla, which is a bit strange. And it's the most surreal experience. People ask me whether it's like fun. It's just complete. It just makes you giggle because it's so surreal how you just move from here to there instantly. So I can only imagine what that's like when you've got well, I'm doing that because that's what the X does. When you've got a vehicle that size, and I think maybe they're certainly making a lot of other manufacturers think long and hard. So we'll see what happens with the Cybertruck. But I think Tesla's a really good spin. I'm not sure who else here would have said Tesla. Naomi, what have you thought?
I've gone for, I realise I'm restricting myself slightly because I don't think there's a family version of this car, but I think we're covered with the Tesla on that. I would say Morgan Motor Company.
Ah, okay.
I'm assuming Ian's already got. Despite my accent, I'm English. My dad is English and passed on a very intense love for British sports cars and always had them growing up. And his dream was always to have a Morgan. And we went to Malvern together around the time I was getting into motorsport. It was one of these kind of times that was very special to me. And when I was working in Formula E, I was asked to join an agency in London called Influence, which most of you will have had press releases from over the years. And I was asked to join because of Jaguar were starting their Formula E team, and that's why they wanted me there. But I didn't sign up until they said I would work on Morgan as well. Yeah. And that for me was an absolute dream come true. And so the year or so that I worked on Morgan was just one of the best times ever. And getting on a train early in the morning from Paddington out to Malvern was amazing. And I'm sure many of you have had the experience of having someone like John Wils or James Gilbert sort of thrash around a Morgan in the hills for you. But it is incredibly special when you have this sort of, you feel like you have a spiritual link to a car like that. So that's for me the brand that means the most. And of course, other lovely encounters like, Ian, you very kindly gave me a drawing you'd done of the Morgan logo. I feel like I've made a lot of friends with that brand. So yeah. I would hands down go with a Morgan and preferably a +8.
Right. Okay. So they've rubbed off on you more than just working for them and kind of needing to promote them. Actually, you really, really fell in love with the things.
I think it's one of the few companies or brands or products or anything I've spent a lot of time working on and haven't come out feeling frustrated by it. Or
Lewis, what would you go for?
Well, I find myself increasingly disliking the modern trend for overcomplicated, overperforming, overweight cars. So more and more these days, I'll probably find myself going with a bit of an outlier and voting for Suzuki.
Oh, wow, okay.
One of the few companies that makes simple but not ill-equipped, enjoyable, sustainable, light, fun to drive cars. And it's admittedly made a few mistakes in the past, and some of them are unforgivable as well. But in terms of bang for buck and enjoyment and affordability, it's one of the brands that I most admire.
Oh, very good. It's a bit of an unusual choice, but it makes complete sense. And I suppose, it's one of those companies that can do things a bit more quirky and get away with it, and they've still got the reliability to back it all up. I think that's quite.
Yeah, I mean, if you go and spend $6,500 on a second gen Swift Sport, for example, and you'll have a riot, and you'll also have something that will do 45 to the gallon, carry 4 adults just about. You can take to the Nürburgring and back, and never have to think about it.
Yeah. Okay, so Jess, are you going to say Lamborghini next or something mad like that?
No. So I was going to say Porsche, just because I used to run a 924 race car and I miss it. But I'm with Chris. I'm going to have to go with Ford, just because firstly I could get a truck. You know how I feel about a truck. But then there's just so much scope, and I need a hot hatch in my life. So, I could go for like the RS or one of the STs, which would keep me perfectly happy. But then, there's the Ford Mustang and classic Mustangs as well, and I wouldn't be able to say no to that.
Oh yeah, it's a great mix, isn't it? Ford, all that heritage, and the ones that you can tinker with, as Jonty was saying, and then the new stuff, and then you've got the GTs and everything as well. Richard, what would you go for?
Well, I think you wouldn't be surprised, nor would Alan, nor would Lewis probably, and nor would Ben, I would guess. In fact, there's probably a hint there.
Yeah, there's a big logo on you. That isn't even a T-shirt, that's just a tattoo, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I often joke, if you cut me in half, there would be the Volkswagen logo going all the way through me. It's like a rock. I'm not really sure why. It was instilled, I think, when I was a kid. I think my dad liked them. I went and saw the Herbie films when I was a kid. Always wanted a Beetle, but never did end up owning one. And I often dream about finding a barn find, very early Mark 1 Golf GTI in a barn, under a cover, small bumpers, steel wheels.
And you're one of the people, I think, Richard, where this actually does apply to you, because I can see you actually just sticking with Volkswagen for the rest of your life and being perfectly happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I've driven so far. In 20 odd years. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, just one of those things.
But you've driven other things, of course, because you've written lots for me, especially even the new EV stuff. You're quite well renowned for your expertise in that.
going to the first German exchange at school when I was 14, and I didn't want to take the letter home to my mum. I mean, we're a single family, and I thought that she couldn't afford to send me to Germany. But one of the caveats was that they were going to visit the Volkswagen factory. So she said, right, you are going. So I went, and that was it. 32 years later, there you go.
This is where Naomi started, and we'll go back to her in 30 years' time, and she'll still be talking about that same +8. But now it's got Bluetooth or something like that because they're up with the kids. Yeah. Craig, what about you?
So my actual car history is very, very short, even shorter than I am. And some of the things that have been suggested are ones that I was having go around in my head, but I thought, let's scrap all that and just go with the most impractical option ever, but the one that would please 8-year-old me the most, and go with McLaren.
Oh, okay.
So on paper, that sounds like a terrible option because there are very few cars and very few kinds of cars to go around. But you have got more than 50 years of wonderful motorsport history to just drive around in to your heart's content. And I mean, some of my favourite cars are McLarens in a racing sense. So it would have to be that, really.
Well, I suppose
Maverick.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I am.
LA, what about you?
All right, how long have we got?
Well, I'm going to give you 20 seconds.
Well, I'm glad that a couple of people have mentioned a couple because I'd like a DeLorean because I want to go back in time to before this year, put it that way.
Oh, okay.
No, apart from that, I like the idea of a Morgan. I've never driven one. I've never even seen one or touched one. There's just something so British and just so special about that kind of a car. So that's been through my mind. And also going a bit to the American side, to the dark side. Years ago when I lived over there, I drove a Pontiac Firebird, and it was like sort of like the kit car, you know, of Knight Rider. It was talk about put your foot on the pedal, and it just launched, but it was so loud as well, and it shook, you know, and it was a fantastic car, and I kind of called it my pulling car because I'd drive it at the weekend, you know, and all the girls would get in it, and you know, we'd go around the city where I lived at the time. And then so American as well. I've got something about the Chryslers when I'm in the States, and you know, you can look good in a Sebring with the top down, and I've really enjoyed driving the Chrysler 300, the executive car. That is a fantastic car, V10. You cannot, sorry, I'm going a bit wonky here. You cannot, with it being an automatic car, it won't crawl. It just wants to go. It's like growling like a lion. The thing just wants to take off if you're trying to go around bends and trying to go slowly. And that was an amazing car because the minute you touch that accelerator, that would launch as well. That V10 was fantastic. But then I'm coming back over here. Yeah, I was kind of sort of going a bit McLaren. I was going that way with that house as well, though. You know, it has to be the house too. There, sorry, I'm not boring you guys.
No, but we've got 5 different makes there. We've got, from what I can make out, DeLorean, Morgan.
I'll get to it. I promise I'll get to it, because then I was very almost tempted to kind of go with.
If you just got the Auto Trader in front of you, you're just flicking.
Yeah. This is the one off Pimp My Ride. They did it up years ago. It was fantastic. And I kind of felt a bit Volkswagen-ish because I'd love a combi. And then I've enjoyed the Golfs, the GTIs, and I've really enjoyed even like a Beetle. But the car I've got at the minute, yeah, it's old. Yeah, she needs replacing. Sorry. But it's a Volvo. And if I had to have one car for the rest of my entire life, I think I'd have to stick with a Volvo, because this one has been amazing. I bought it to last 3 months. I moved back to the country after living overseas, and I thought, I just need a cheap car right away so I can go back to work. I've still got it years later. I've run the thing out of oil twice to the point where when I took the dipstick out, it's that clean I could have licked it. I'm not kidding you. It was just shiny and silver in the sun. And she's still going. She's amazing.
Well, I would say you can't break them, but Ben's nervously hoping that we don't say you can't break a Volvo.
It's still going.
It's still going, even though yours
Still
caught
going.
fire.
Small thermal incident, it's fine.
Only a tiny, tiny fire.
There was a small fire, a small flame.
Yeah, I only took 3 fire engines. It was fine.
Did it actually take 3 fire engines?
No, I needed 1,
No.
but they sent 3 out to me, and I was very embarrassed about it. Well, still now.
Anyway,
Ian,
yeah, so I'm going with Volvo. I
All
think
right.
I've got to go with Volvo. That's
Volvo.
it.
You're locked in
Good
now.
shout.
That's your final answer. Yeah. Ian.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What would you choose if your only make you're allowed to drive from now on, or own
Well,
from now on?
Morgan was stolen from me. Sad.
You're welcome.
Sad. But it's what I said to it. So Morgan really, well, you've got a Mazda gearbox in the Morgan, really, and that's what makes the Morgan 3-wheeler a really good car to drive. So, and the thing about being out in Japan earlier on, like late last year and earlier on in the year, you realize how efficient and brilliant they are at engineering. That's why their cars are so good. The brands are so, Toyota, Mazda, all those brands are so good. Suzuki, very good, cool. That I would have gone for that one as well. Quirky little cool cars. And the K cars out in Japan are amazing. If we had some of them, I'd have a K car any day. Like, they are wicked. And I was very fortunate enough to. I'd go for Nissan, actually.
Oh, okay.
Mainly because I think I went and saw quite a lot of their heritage whilst I was out there. So I went to like the Datsun, where Nissan built a Datsun, and I went to their head office in just outside Tokyo, and to see some of their like super cool like heritage, like you're talking the R30, R32 wide body stuff. It's like you kind of go, oh my god, hi. The only thing I had that was like the Celicas and stuff. They had the World Rally car Celicas in the Toyota heritage as well. But I think because I didn't get a chance to go to the museum, they've got like a special store about an hour and a half away from Tokyo. Didn't get a chance to see that because you have to be invited only to go there. So, but yeah, they produce a lot of stuff, Nissan. Like they produce small cars, big cars, GTR. I mean, that's almost like an everyday supercar, like R8 kind of thing. So yeah, I think I'd probably have. And they also had the Nissan Crossing where you could have your photo you could have a photo of your face put onto a coffee. I mean, what other brand do that?
What?
Exactly.
Sounds like heaven.
The Suzuki Cappuccino could do that.
Oh, very good.
But
Can we have Vauxhall Mocha as well? Is that going to count?
I'm so glad no one went. I'm so glad no one went for Vauxhall. I mean,
Yeah.
Did
anyone consider Vauxhall?
I mean, I drive a Vauxhall, but still, even so.
But you wouldn't recommend it to anybody, no?
No, I mean, my car sounds like it might break at the moment, so I'm just like,
Poor Vauxhall. I always feel it's the car brand that I pity the most at the minute. Anytime people say people are cruel about Vauxhall, my initial reaction is, oh.
Is it like don't hit it? Don't hit the thing.
It basically is don't hit the poor whimpering thing in the corner.
I will step up and defend Vauxhall. Well, Opel actually, because 2009, 2010, first generation Insignia, the SRI Turbo 4x4 version, better than an equivalent Audi A4 at the time. And there, I've said it.
Wow.
Dominant in BTCC as well. Like, used to early 2000s, BTCC was
John Cleland in a Vectra. I mean, there's just nothing better than that.
I mean, I could defend Vauxhall. I've got a Chevette being restored. I mean, nobody should really restore a Chevette, but I'm putting my own money into making a rusty thing not rusty anymore. So
I honestly thought you were going to say Viva.
I was actually going to chat to you, Ian, about doing like what you're doing with Toby's genetic with my Vauxhall, because I was meant to get rid of my Vauxhall quite soon, and I kind of want to say goodbye to it in a nice way because it's got stickers on the side. I was actually going to contact you about sort of doing.
Send it over.
What stickers does it have? Does it say "Police aware"? What Vauxhall have you got there, Chris?
I've got a 2016 Astra, and it's got an interesting story because at the dealership in late July 2017, I was run over by a lorry on the grounds of a Vauxhall dealership. I ran over my foot, crushed it into the ground. It was a fully loaded Wix lorry, and it was drizzling with rain. All the Vauxhall guys, because we've just been looking, of course, because my Clio was broken. That's another story. And basically, the Vauxhall guys came running over and took off all their coats, despite the fact that it was quite heavy rain by that point. and you know, I recovered in hospital. By the time I could drive again, about 6 weeks later, we decided that we would actually get a Vauxhall because of the response of the Vauxhall guys. And we thought, you know, spiritually, just because of how they acted and their behaviour and how nice they were. And so yeah, we got back, looked at this 2016 Astra, part exchanged my Clio and my sister's Fiat 500, and they sort of said, "Oh, you're the lorry guy." And yeah, 3 years later, it's kind of, you know, I had a chat with my family, and they were like, I told them I wanted to sort of say goodbye to the Astra, so you know, go get something a bit better, and they were like, "Oh, thank goodness, we've been waiting for you to say that for ages. We want to get rid of it too." And
well, there seems to be a lot of a warm, fuzzy feeling here for Vauxhall. So maybe when you guys have all managed to hit 300 mile an hour in some sort of drag car, maybe let's do Vauxhall a bit of justice and try and get a Vauxhall up to 300 mile an hour and see how that goes.
I mean, find a big enough cliff.
Run it over. Maybe we could put a rocket in Ian's Chevette.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But in all seriousness, I would like to sort of, in the same way Toby's done what he's done with his Jeanette, I would like to, if that's okay with you, include my Vauxhall, if that's okay, if you would be up for that.
Yeah.
He put him on the spot though.
No peer pressure, nothing. Not fun.
You don't have to.
You've got to do all our cars, Ian. Is that all right?
All of them. I've got no pens, unfortunately. I've got no pens.
Honestly, also, am I the only one expecting the end of that story to be, and they gave us a car for free?
I was. Yeah.
Just this one that they can't sell. They're not allowed to sell to the public. They just said, just take that up.
Well, because it's evidence.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon special.
I don't suppose, Naomi, you've heard anything about Charlie. Are we probably expecting her not to make it today?
No, I did text her, but she can't join, unfortunately. Sorry.
That's okay. Just so long as we know we're not going to like hold on and you know, just go just as she joins. So that's okay, because
I think she's in the simulator. I think
she's in the simulator. Is she? Is she racing today?
No, she's racing every Saturday for the next 7 Saturdays in the Formula E race. Yeah, in that.
Yeah, it's one of them.
And, so she's now got 2 simulators in her house. She had her own one.
Yeah. And
then she didn't have a PC, Formula E have sent her one of the Formula E ones. And so now she's got 2 of her rooms have sims in them. So she's quite busy hopping between the 2.
Is she just racing herself? Is she just running from one to the other and just trying to like beat herself?
Live ghost car.
Yeah. Did she race a couple of days ago then? Because I saw the first round. Has there been another round since then?
Yeah, there has on Saturday. So it's quite a cool way of doing it, because they're very short races. But after a couple of laps, they start to eliminate the person at the back in a sort of battle royale format until you get down to the final 10 or the final 12 or something, who thrash it out for the points. So it's quite a good format, but it does mean, because she's in a sim driver category rather than a racing driver category, which is just massive, as she was saying last week.
Yeah.
It's very hard for her to kind of get into those stages where she's not just getting eliminated fairly early on. But she's doing really, really well for the level she's at.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just to be able to take part is just fantastic. And I saw that she had a big bag full of goodies from Formula E the other day, and she's, some great stuff in there. And it's really, really good that they've kind of welcomed her into the fold, and then she's just so keen to make sure that everyone gets to see what Formula E are doing and the great stuff that they're doing. And that's
massive, and like, Charlie Charlie got the phone call asking her to join. It wasn't my doing. I had nothing to do with it. It's amazing that Championship would reach out to Charlie. You know, 2 years ago, she was in Ginettas and just starting out racing in the UK after being in France for years in hill climb. So it's pretty cool for them to reach out and do that.
I think particularly as well, at the moment, if you look at the rise in esports, it's giving there's an opportunity. It's a level playing field. Obviously, you might have a better Thrustmaster steering wheel or whatever, but it's kind of remove the cost. But there's no gender equality in esports at the moment. It's just male drivers. And that's not okay. It's nice to actually see some diversity, and Formula E again is kind of at the front of that. And hopefully that's something we'll see over the coming weeks. I know there are some other initiatives coming through, but to see a championship actually go out of its way to try and bring some more diversity is really positive.
It's really nice because it puts a lot of younger drivers and sim drivers on the Formula E radar, which is great. But yeah, if anyone wants to watch them, every Saturday at about 4 p.m. on the Formula E YouTube channel, if anyone's interested. They're really good.
Yeah, they are. They are good. I've been writing an article which will go out probably tomorrow, actually, about how esports can help people perhaps get on the same track as professional racing drivers, and through connections, for some of the brands I work with. I was chatting to Alex Brundle and Jason Plato about their thoughts about the whole thing, but also I wanted to speak to a couple of sim drivers. So I spoke to Cami, who drives for Fordzilla. So again, it's great to see a girl there racing as well, to get her point of view, get some of the tech knowledge from her about what's good, what's bad in terms of equipment. And one thing that really stood out, as well as speaking to her and another guy called Matt, who were sim racers, is actually speaking to the pros. And I mean, Jason's been around for a while now. Alex has not been around for quite so long, but both of them were really, really enjoying sim racing. They're quite open, as you'll see in the article, about the differences between the real world and sim racing. But overall, there was no negativity about it. They were really enjoying it. And one of the things they said is it's great to be able to get young people in passionate about motorsport and able to give it a whirl through esports. So it was really, really good. There was no kind of, oh, it's not real, you're never going to crash, it doesn't make any difference if your engine's not going to blow up and throw you into a fence. But the professional race drivers were finding it a really good challenge as well, and quite open about that. And they say that when they race against a sim racer, they're really, really struggling. I know it's a completely different dynamic and the feel through the car and that kind of thing, but it was still really, really interesting to know that these guys are struggling to find the odd 10th in a corner and that kind of thing. So
one of the things we've been trying to do on Motoring Podcasts, and we've been doing it for years. First of all with Formula E, because I was reminded of this little piece of memorabilia here. But Formula E for years, and also now this year we've been talking quite a lot about sim racing and trying to link and discuss as many as possible. As many stories and things, and give as much guidance as we can on sim racing that people might want to watch, because it's great.
It is. There's lots of things out there, and we see a lot of these drivers that are doing it are having to quickly switch from one thing to another, because there'll be a championship over there using iRacing, then I have to quickly go and load up R-Factor 2 or something like that to then join the next one. So it's a busy time for them, and it's great to see that there's all kinds of, I mean, I saw Jacques Villeneuve on a control pad the other day. I think he was racing in the Legends. So it's good to see that even those guys, get involved in that kind of thing. Now, I'm aware
where was Jacques Villeneuve again? Sorry, where was that?
Where was that? That was on, I think the race were pushing it, weren't they? Was it the Legends Trophy or something like that?
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. I have to find that. Someone send me the link, please.
Oh, I see.
I don't think it's turned up ever since. He just rocked up with his controller, plugged into his laptop, finished sixth in the race, and then just hasn't showed up ever since.
He doesn't need to.
No, it's typical Jacques Villeneuve, really.
Yeah.
One thing a lot of the naysayers don't realise.
I've got to go. I've got to head up because I've got to do this live with Mini. So if you want to watch a Mini being created with Cooper, then cool. I've got to go. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I'll just hear from Jonty, because I think you're just about to make a point, and then we'll start wrapping up.
Yeah. I was just going to say, a lot of people think the naysayers don't realise is it can be a lot more real than they think. Some of these sim rigs, if they set it wrong, it will snap your elbows.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a video on. I think it was Jordan Taylor, IMSA driver Jordan Taylor, who's got a motion rig, and his failed on him whilst he had a small accident, and it's quite an amusing clip, but it just basically snapped on him, so he ended up at a rather bigger angle than he was expecting. So that's quite amusing. I've got a sim race tomorrow myself, actually, that I should probably do some practice for at some point, but it's been good. Because I've had to get away from it for a little while. I'm not any good.
Good luck with that, Craig. But I think we're going to have to call it a night here now, because we've already got through the hour, despite not having the full range of people here. I think it's been really, really good to kind of hear from you all again. It has gone live, obviously, on Facebook, so a few people have been keeping in touch there. Have a think amongst yourselves if there's a particular question that you actually want to ask the team for next week, and let me know within the next few days if you think of a real corker that we'll put to everybody. And then if everybody wants to do it again, I'll put the invite out there as normal. But for now, I'd just like to thank you all for coming. I think that makes it 9 o'clock, and it's really, really nice to hear from you all and to see that let's have a bit of respect for Virgin
Yeah,
not,
it held
for
out.
not disconnecting Jess and Craig. And it's good to see that you've been both here for the whole thing. But for now, I think I'd like to just say, what was that? Sorry, Chris.
It's like competing at Johnny and Lancia. It held out.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thanks ever so much for that, and perhaps see you again next time.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.